what you said, on the bus thing.
Yeah, so who's riding on the bus? Who do you want on your bus? Tell me, if you were the bus driver, right? So you're the main strategic leader, and you're the bus driver.
Well, it doesn't.
What kind of people do you want on the bus? One at a time. Start with you.
I'll let him start.
Well,
yeah.
okay, just
seems like he's got somewhere.
Just because you're responsible for the bus doesn't necessarily mean that you are the driver.
Okay, good
That's
point.
interesting.
So so based upon that,
You're like, I think of it more as like a captain of ship kind of a situation.
okay,
Because there's a guy who's in charge of the ship,
I'm gonna grab my coffee.
and then you've got a helmsman, and you got guys that are responsible for sails,
A cuppa?
and you got a guy who's in charge of cannons, you got a cook, you've got, guys that are just on the ship to be fighters,
Yeah.
you got guys that are just there to scrub decks, you got guys that are just there for menial jobs, guys that just load and unload.
Yeah.
You got a guy that does every little thing on the ship, and everyone kind of knows how to do everything on a ship. They know how to sail, but you got your specialists.
But then there's like, it's not even always the captain that drives the ship too, right? Like they direct, they say we're going this
But no,
way.
that's what your helmsman does.
Helmsman, okay.
Yeah,
They're the one that actually have that.
Yeah, I mean other people.
I think
don't-
of like Assassin's Creed and you're
Yeah.
floating through the ocean and
But everyone can kind of take the helm. But
Yeah.
there's a helmsman. There's your navigator who reads the maps and the charts. More than one person knows how to do that stuff generally on a ship, but there's a guy who's a master at it. You've got a specialist for each of these things. It's sort of like in army units. You've got guys that are masters.
so when I think
of
about
those
like,
things.
that's a cool analogy. So like, we're using this bus analogy, just I was using this,
On a bus, it's different. Usually, the guy driving is the one in charge.
well, not always though, because
No.
like, what if like, we think on a school bus, right? But what if it's like a Greyhound bus or whatever that we rented or whatever, and we were lost in a city? If you're lost, well, you're going to need a map. So who's your map reader, right? That's what I think. Like if I'm on a bus, I want someone that knows directions.
Knows how to read.
the day that we're in now, they're running
There's a
by
GPS.
But
But who's our GPSer? You know, like
well, that's one caveat with that. But also, we need somebody to make sure that the people that were supposed to be on the bus are on the bus.
oh, you need like a quality control person.
Well, we don't want some straggler to come on on the bus if they don't necessarily meet that
Yeah.
requirement. They have to have the ticket to get on the bus.
I just got a visual of Indiana
Yeah,
Jones on the
but
plane.
you're right.
Yeah.
So we need somebody that is the navigator.
Nicole said something I thought was great. That goes along with what you said there. She's talking about Indiana Jones. You remember Indiana Jones?
It's the third one.
When he punches the dude or whatever.
Throws him off the window.
Throws him off like it's
It's a Zeppelin.
It's a Zeppelin, and he's like no ticket. That goes right along with what you're saying. Like if they haven't passed
Coffee.
the I got a little full there, didn't it?
Yeah.
Nicole, can you grab us?
I can't do
Holy tamale.
Just need one really.
We got a lot. Ask and you shall receive. Knock on the door will be open unto
Your
you.
cup runneth over.
Team leader.
We'll have to talk to her about that.
We need larger cups.
You know,
We need a.
what else was I thinking when you say like, so you're saying the first one, a good step on your team, you need a quality check. You need like you need your core values.
Yep.
So then that's what we talked about last week. Is
That's
having
the
your core
filter.
values, and that's your ticket in to the bus. Which is when you're talking about the bus, it's your leadership team, right?
Yeah.
And of course, there's going to be plenty of people that. Go ahead.
Well, when you talk about the leadership, the people that you want, it's sort of like when you're mining for gold. You ever seen like Gold Rush or anything like that? They put
Yeah.
all that rock into sluice boxes and they shake
They
it.
shake it, yeah.
And they get the big chunks of rock out first, and then they finally get to the gold chunks.
Yeah, you need a sifter.
Yeah, they got to sift
Gotta
through
sift
all this
through it.
stuff. They don't they start with huge chunks of rock. They get down to these little tiny specks.
That's
and
what the values.
Then they wash to get maybe a jar of gold about that big. You can't just take and hope that you're going to get a ton of gold just by reaching in and grabbing whatever. There's a lot of people out there that want to be up front. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to last. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do a good job.
That's good. That's like that ties right in with like our pressing core values because it's
not
like,
everyone fits that bill.
It's not the same word, but like this sifting. I think the scripture talks about God sifting us out like wheat, right?
Well, I mean, even when you talked about like the vessels getting made, getting pressed, a vessel gets marred. He has to pull out the impurities.
Yeah,
Sometimes I mess up,
right?
And I'm in part of the leadership.
Yeah.
So someone can be part of the leadership already and have a mistake happen.
And they need to run through and
it's not so much that someone messes up and now they're gone forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like before we put them in the position, you make sure most of those impurities aren't present.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't just install someone who's got major issues.
Well, you can still have a minor issue and still be usable.
They just have to match with the thing, with the.
Let's bring it down here.
Yeah.
Man. Okay.
Sorry, am I
No. Let's bring it down here. Let's get back focused on what kind of leaders do we want on our bus. We've already identified a driver. We need somebody to be a navigator. We need somebody to be the gatekeeper in terms of vetting those potential leaders. Everything you had to say has a complete value, and I think it's tied to what we're talking about. But my question was, what does the type of leader that we're looking for, what do they look like? Who do we want on the bus? And what attributes are we looking for?
I got one that I want on my bus at least.
You're gonna have to write this down because I won't remember it. Oh, you recorded it.
Yeah,
He forgot which century he was in.
Yeah.
you know you're having good conversations when you forget about the camera.
Yeah.
So, here's what I think.
Okay.
We'll tell a story. So,
All right.
Back at Philo High School, I know two individuals with the last name Barnhart that got into some issues on the bus back in the day.
All the time.
It's a good story.
I believe one was Josiah Barnhart. He told me about. And I think someone was getting made fun of or whatever. And I can't remember. You've had a couple of these instances. One wasn't even on a bus. This was the tall guy. There was a tall guy.
No, that tall guy wasn't
That
on the
was
bus.
in a classroom. But there was one on a bus. I think you told me about. Someone was getting made fun of, and like you stood up and you got into a fight with this dude because he was making fun of somebody. And then I remember this other guy named Lee Barnhart. He told me a story back when he was in. Maybe you were like a freshman but an upperclassman would pick on you all the time on the bus. Come and just like start hitting on you and just messing with you all the time. And one day you had enough and you brought that fist back and cool clocked him in the face and blood everywhere and he didn't bug you again.
No. He did.
Now, I don't want somebody that's going to start. First of all, I don't want a bully.
Yeah.
I do not want a bully on our bus.
You want a defender.
But I want a defender, and I want somebody that's willing to stand up for their teammates and their team members.
Mm-hmm.
They're not driving the bus, but they're protecting the integrity of the bus.
Well, there was a guy who was a senior. I was a sophomore then. He was bigger than me, Dean Ingram. Okay, he was bigger than both of us, and he pulled me off of that guy because I was said, "I'm going to strangle you till you die." To that other guy, and he's like, "No. You don't want to kill him." "Yes, I do."
Yeah.
And he's like, "If I let you go, you're going to kill him, and then you're going to go to juvenile detention."
Yeah. See.
He was protecting me.
Yeah, like I think that it's important.
Like I might have been trying to do the right thing, but that didn't necessarily mean I was doing the right thing.
Someone with a good sense of what's the word I'm searching for?
It's the maturity and defense.
Yeah, it's maturity and the defense, but there's this idea
There's
of
a moral compass to it.
yeah, like a moral compass, like a I don't know. There's a word I'm thinking about, but I can't remember right now. But like someone like that on the bus is I want somebody like that who's willing to help resolve conflicts.
Well, it's a
within
peace.
the team.
It's being a peacekeeper.
Yeah, a peacekeeper. Yep.
It's like someone who knows when to fight and how to fight, and it's like
when to say something, when not to say something.
Like,
Like someone that's good at like.
well, it's like I think it's the movie The Patriot.
Mm-hmm.
There was a preacher in that movie, and they're coming by and they're recruiting for the war, and he, at one point, the preacher says, "Oh, I'm going to go fight," and all the parishioners are like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "Well, I have to go protect my flock." You're talking about a guy who's committed to a peaceful life, decides to go fight.
Yeah.
He's taken a stand at that point to say, "No, I have to go and fight, even though that's not my thing."
Yeah.
So that's good.
That's someone I would like.
Yeah, that's good. But do you guys want to know what a level 5 leader is?
Yes.
Of course.
At level 5, you got on the opposite side of the equation, you got equals level 5. There are two things that represent a level 5 leader. The first one being humility. The second thing being will. The will. Person's will. So humility plus will equals level 5. Level 5 leaders are a study in duality. Modest and willful, humble and fearless. To quickly grasp this concept, think of the United States President Abraham Lincoln, one of the few level 5 presidents in the United States history who never let his ego get in the way of his primary ambition for the larger cause of an enduring great nation. Yet those who mistook Mr. Lincoln's personal modesty, shy nature, and awkward manner as signs of weakness found themselves terribly mistaken to the scale of 250,000 Confederate and 360,000 Union lives, including Lincoln's own. So, just because a level 5 leader has humility, plus they've got a will. And one of the other things with a level 5 leader is, this is according to Good to Great, and I'm pulling this information from this Jim Collins. So level 5 leaders channel their ego. Channel their ego needs away from themselves and into the larger goal of building a great company or a great organization, whatever you want to call it, or a great church. It's not that level 5 leaders have no ego or self-interest. Indeed, they have an incredible ambitious, but they are incredibly ambitious, but their ambition is first and foremost for the institution and not themselves. So
that's interesting. I like that.
What you had pointed out is perfect. What you brought to the discussion is great and perfect. Those are some things that we want to be able to say, this is what our level 5 leaders should look like.
Yeah. For
every team leader, they need to be a level 5. If they're not a level 5, then we need to do what we can to get them to a level 5. If we've identified that there's no humility there, then we have to begin to coach them to have some humility.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think we've been pretty good up to this point identifying, but we need to be really strategic moving forward.
What's interesting though, because you need, according to that, you need somebody that has humility, which means a couple of things. It means they respect people. Their interest is not solely on themselves, right?
They know their own limitations.
They're aware of their own limitations and their skill set.
Yeah.
But then you also need someone with a lot of will. And I think a lot of times what people, what I've gotten backwards in my past is like, okay, so I need to be humble, so I should probably just stand back and not say anything. But maybe that's not really because Jesus was still humble, but he was like the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, and he knew how to command and speak to something and stand up for what was right. So something that I think that's kind of a good teaching point, because as a leader you should be humble and you should listen. See, that's something that I have a hard time doing sometimes, because I get so focused on. We've done it before. I remember when we were playing in a band with Alec and everything. We went to play at a it was like a Cambridge summer festival or whatever. It was, and the question is like, how do we want to set up? Do we want to set up to play? Because it was like it was a long like little shelter house that we were playing in, right? It didn't have any walls or anything, and I was so consumed with the idea of like we need to play towards the inside of the shelter house, like that's where the stage area is. Let's play this way. But all the people were walking along the side of the building, and so as we played, after I was like, this is where we need to set up, guys. Let's do it here. And Josiah and Alec and everybody, and I think Nicole might have been there too. They were like, well, we really should be pointing towards the people that are going by, don't you think? And I was like, it makes more sense like this. I didn't listen. And all these people walking by, they couldn't really hear what we were doing, you know? We didn't have a big enough sound system. So
Or they got a piece of it, but not the whole thing.
yeah, and so what I'm trying to learn is that the way I think it should be may not be necessarily right, and so I need to listen to what everybody else is saying. I need to force myself to ask the question, what do you think? What do you think?
Typically when we're having our leadership team meeting, what do I typically do?
Good thoughts.
Thoughts and questions. You ask a lot of thoughts and questions.
What am I doing most of the time?
Listening. You listen a lot, yeah. You do.
Right, because I want to learn
Mhm.
what's in your guys' brain, what's in your spirits. I want to know what your perspective is. Harry S. Truman had this quote, and this is in the Good to Great book. I can't take credit for it. You can accomplish anything in life, provided that you don't mind who gets the credit.
That's good.
Right? So
That's really good.
here we are. And an example of that is, as your pastor, I don't preach every Sunday,
That's true. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because I could care less who gets the credit.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know people. I want to have relationships with them.
Yeah.
So I don't want it to be the Bishop Lee Barnhart's show.
Yeah.
I want it to be the Jesus show.
Yes.
I want him to be preferred.
Yeah.
So those people that we have on the bus need to be humble enough that they'll accomplish great things. However, they can't be concerned about getting the credit.